showing up, walking in my truth and my integrity. It keeps me in mind of the universe's eye, if that makes sense. You know, so I'm going to do Sancho. Yeah, so. Nam yo ho renge kyo. Nam yo ho renge kyo. Nam yo ho renge kyo. Ashe. And that's what Sancho is. Sancho is just a slower version of Damuku, which is the longer version of chanting. So, like in the moments where like anxiety or things that cause suffering, you know, and whatever that means in that moment, you can do a Sancho to kind of bring you back to a more grounded space and really connect you with, again, the universe and like what this all is for, you know. So, yeah. Just a little introduction.
Cool. Namaste. That was a dope introduction. Appreciate that. The energy flow. That was nice. Thank you. That was put us into our zone. Yeah. So I appreciate that. So welcome. We're gonna do Mana Feast. And we're actually gonna work we're gonna eat Baobab Fare. So it's East African restaurant. It's in off of East Grand Boulevard in Woodward. Pretty dope. I've gone there once. Shout out to Elena. She took me there. Dope food. I had chicken and then, the fish, and we kind of just split it, and it was awesome. So you get to try it out.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
And I'm hungry. Plop.
I don't know.
What is that on the bottom?
Yeah, talk. You can talk.
Yeah, what is that on the bottom? Like, is that like a sweet potato?
So we got corn, and this is like a bean. I think it's like lentils.
Okay. All right.
So here you go. Got some corn. Let me know if you want some more.
Oh,
Let me get this out the way so that I can get you some rice. And then we got plátanos, plantains. Had to get the plátanos. I was like, oh, look at that.
That's beautiful.
Have you had plátanos?
Yes, I love them. I love them.
Now I show you support.
Yeah. How long have they been open? Like,
so I know a little bit about this story. I don't know everything, but I know that they were telling me that they that especially during the pandemic, that's kind of where they started, and they're actually refugees. I don't want to butcher their story,
right.
So I'll look into it, but no, they just have a really good story. They started recently, and they just been really, really helpful in the community, and just a lot of people have been talking about it, and they've also been go ahead, grab some more if you want, but you know, a lot of people have been talking about it, and they've been on the news, and they've just been really growing, and that's just been really dope for them. And I just been able to try it, and so today we're doing the samaki. It's a crisp, flash fried fish garnished with tangy sautéed onion, served with fresh corn salad, fried plantains, stewed yellow beans. That's the one. And your choice of spice rice pilau or coconut rice, but we got coconut rice. Yeah. Says great choice for a light yet fulfilling meal. That sounds dope.
It's delicious.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So today we're going to talk about transformational healing.
All right.
All right. And I know that. Hold on. Let me take a bite. I'm hungry.
All right. This is really good. Something different too.
Oh yeah, because your first time, right?
My first time eating here.
Trying
this. Yep. I've been getting very creative, like with just food. Like today, it was a simple breakfast, but just how I made it, because I watch a lot of cooking shows, so I be studying techniques and ways of more so because I don't really have a label as to what I am when it comes to my eating habits or my diet, and I really just go with like the flow of my body. So I I've been in a space of where of eating plant based, so I was getting creative trying to find meals, and today I made like this spinach. It's like spinach, red onion, garlic. I cracked 2 eggs and poured it over, but kind of made it into a pancake and sliced it into 4 pieces and cut up some avocado and tomato. And they have like this everything bagel season that is really good. And I made me a little breakfast sandwich, and it was delicious. Just doing something. It may not, just doing something different.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, I'm gonna make me a bagel or some waffles or some things. So I've really been creative in the kitchen lately, and that makes me happy. It's where I ground myself. Well, I ground in the kitchen. I feel at home in the kitchen.
Well, let's talk about ground. What does that mean? Grounding.
I feel at ease with myself, more in tune with myself when and that's just how I feel when I ground, or when I'm connected to the earth, or just in a space where I feel steady.
Yeah, so literally literally grounding is connecting to earth,
Right.
right? So when you say that you feel connected to yourself, connected to you're literally grounded, where your energy is not all over the place.
Right.
So just to explain to the people, because sometimes even people may understand it as earthing, but it's also grounding.
Right.
So same thing, same thing, just different words, and it's nothing new, but it's new to people who are going to their health journey and going into themselves. So cool. That is a good way to ground, I think. And then I think some people think of grounding or think of being relaxed as like one way. This is the way to do it. And,
Right.
But cooking is very grounding. Cooking is very relaxing.
I honestly think is how I connect with my great grandmother. I feel her energy when I cook, more at ease, and I think it's just relaxing. It's most definitely an art form. I thought about going to culinary school this year, just so I can delve deeper into that craft. And like, who doesn't? We all eat food. We all love food, especially good cooked food.
Yeah, well, we need someone to test it. I'm
I
here.
got you.
Purdy, you here?
Yeah.
We want to try that food for sure. Bring it to the podcast.
I got you.
No, that's cool. So I love cooking.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like cleaning, so I don't like to cook.
I understand.
It's like that part. It's like as soon as you're done, you're like, I just want to relax, and then you look, you're like, hey, I gotta clean all of that. What I just did.
And I got a method. I clean as I go. So
see, I do too. But even that, it's like work. It's like I just want to leave it to somebody, and then we're good. We done. Yeah. I don't gotta do extra work. I just need to enjoy the moment, enjoy the food, and then. But also, I think that in talking about food and talking about grounding, transformational healing, I think that in terms of eating food, we talked about a little bit about this, that enjoying, taking pleasure in something, and so taking pleasure in every bite,
yes,
and then having that be a part of a nutritional value, literally, physically.
An experience.
Yes.
Because so one thing with food that I've been mindful about, because I used to, not starve, but I would eat and be in a space after I'm done eating, like, did I even taste my food? Just get into that space. So I've been intentionally slowing down when I eat and just taking a moment just to give thanks, or, with the food, and express gratitude, because I enjoy it so much more when I take my time.
I totally forgot to tell you, buen provecho, which is like bon appetit, so we could enjoy our food. But you did the mantra, so I was just so captivated by it. So that was still being part of the experience. It was still,
and even with chanting, it's still I feel like it still has that blessing and that
Oh,
that effect of
absolutely.
it.
So that's what I felt. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's already been blessed, so we're good. So, but
Creating a
yes,
sacred space.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So buen provecho first.
Mm.
Second, I would like to continuously talk about that,
Mm-hmm.
the experience, because you have what you call the Jonah experience.
Indeed.
So um, we will talk more about that, but give us a little history of what experience means to you.
Experience is a way of life. I feel like I connect. I'm a very passionate, deep, intense person. It may not seem like that on the outside, but that's my inner world. So a lot of my experiences, well, a lot of my yearning, especially when it comes to connecting with others, is to be in meaningful experiences. And more specifically, with the Jonah experience, it's and more to bring people into who I am. So, and I think at one point it was for me to be understood because I
Mm,
felt so misunderstood throughout my life. And even still now, to be honest, I have my moments, but, that comes with more self acceptance and, the inner work that is required to be just fully like to embody myself authentic authentically. It takes work, but the Joni experience is like me saying welcome to who I am, welcome
mhm.
to my world in a way, but also to see me is also a reflection of you, and just kind of always taking the approach with whatever I do with bringing people back to themselves, and encouraging them to utilize their own mental faculties and their own guidance system, however you identify that as, because that is what's going to get you to where you want to be ultimately. And yeah, I mean, the experience is getting to know the complexities of who I am as a human being and how that's reflected amongst the collective, because we all go through life and have these experiences, and just, you know, it may look unique and it may be this thing, but it's also me welcoming you into my world so that you can understand your own, so
Nice.
that's where it came from.
And I think that that's where we're similar, parallel, same vibrations, whatever
Indeed.
you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
because we're talking about mana being an inclusive piece,
Mm-hmm.
moment, experience. It's still similar, still the same thought.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when we think of purpose or our goals or where we're or healing, right? I always want to go back to healing because I think that you bring lots of good stuff to healing and
Mm-hmm.
and your thoughts on that.
Thank you.
And so when we talk about inclusivity, but we also talk about going into self
Mm-hmm.
and then being able to go to higher self of overstanding
Mm.
to be able to see where you want to go, but with what you've gone through.
Right.
So it's all together,
Indeed.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's I want to talk about a little bit about healing
All right.
because that's you like brighten up when you talk about
Just
healing. So
because I'm so, hmm, it's not even a mindful thing. It's kind of like a uh, trying to find the words to really accurately describe how I feel about healing. I think healing is just a responsibility of
mm,
each and every one of us, because we all are subjected to something in this life form that puts us in these challenging spaces, and uh, puts us in these spaces where we question who we are, where we question our worth, where we question our beauty, whatever it may be, and just being in a space to really build yourself internally, understand your inner world enough to withstand all of that, and be who you are authentically, shine regardless, be in that space of your happiness, because that comes from the inside. There's nothing anybody can do to give there's and well, let me say that over. It's not something that we can seek externally. It has to be built within us. So healing is something that I just feel like it's my duty, it's my responsibility as an individual who wants to be known as being a person of good character, a person of integrity, a person who is true to basically true to my sovereignty. Um, this is why I take it so seriously, because I feel like doing the work for myself, even with future generations, and when I do have children, to be able to guide them differently than than I was, with my family dynamic, and teaching more things, teaching the things that I feel have more of a value to the human experience. That's not necessarily rooted in anything external, So healing for me is like, I feel like it's my due just. It's like, this is why I'm here. Is I go so hard for myself so that I can be an example for others to go as hard for themselves, you know.
Yeah, I wanna piggyback off of, because you had said that it is kind of like our work to do the healing process,
Right.
and I think that to further explain that we sometimes do have to go to outside source, but as either as an example or as something to help us figure out what's going on, right? Because I think, like, for me, I feel like I'm an empath. I'm very intuitive. I can see a lot of things, and in terms of figuring out what it was, I didn't have anybody to be like, this is what it's called.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, we have a word. It's called empathy, or it's being an empath. And I'm like, I didn't have that word back then.
Right.
And so I think it's like, yes, the healing process does go within yourself, and it takes you to know who you are. Obviously, that you can go to the doctor and say, I feel sick, and then they'll say, oh, you have this, and you can say that's not it, because you know your body. But you can have that guidance,
right,
as a some stepping stones to say, hey, maybe it's this, or try this, or
right,
maybe, and then you can kind of form your own healing, or form who you are, form what you need to do.
Right.
So I think,
So I do want to say something about that, because a lot of my experience there, of course, I feel like I've always been led to situations or meeting people, or, what I would say, like any lesson that I had to learn, or the information, the keys for that guidance that I was looking for, or that thing that was going to help me unlock this issue or this problem or whatever I was going through, to get me to see a bigger and greater perspective. I was always led to that, so a lot of my experiences were more so, I was drawn to it. So I didn't, as much as I would love to be mentored, I don't force it, but I also feel that, when I refer to omnipotence or essence as spirit, I feel that spirit is going to guide me to where I need to be, because that's
spirit knows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I second that.
A lot of my experience has been solo, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, and that's why I come with the perspective that I come with. Like, it is a self thing, but also there are external, like, other avenues that helps you get to where you need to be. And for me, I just knew where to look. I knew who, because again, I was drawn.
Yeah.
I was drawn by spirit to who I need to follow, who I need to listen to, what podcasts about these, like, teachings of hoodoo do I need to listen to that's reputable, and that really these are spiritualists who know what they're talking about. So it's been different for me, but I always just took that.
And I think
I've always just took that responsibility to do the work for myself.
I think what Yeah, and I second that. And I think like for me it's like I always like think about um the people who are at a point where they're gonna give up. Because they're gonna say, no one, they're gonna be in a spot in between your perspective and in between the perspective that I gave. And I only give that perspective just because there are people who are listening or who will listen and will say, yeah, but I'm not there. Yeah, you don't have to be there. You don't have to. You can be either guided, you can be mentored. I looked for mentors. I looked and I asked. I requested mentors, and yeah, but then nothing. So it's like, okay, so I also had to do it alone.
Right.
And so, but I don't want people to feel like, oh, there's only one way. It's like, oh, there's multiple ways. You can either be taught, you can be shown, you can do your research, right? But it's still going to be internally, and it's going to be solo.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you have a mentor or not, or someone there, it's going to be solo.
Yeah.
You're going to do things on your own. And you're going to have to learn on your own because only you know your body or yourself.
Right.
So people can tell you, and then you'll be like, oh, that doesn't fit me. I don't feel that. And so, I just give these different perspectives because I don't want people to listen and be like, oh, well, she did it that way, so it was easy, or she did that. But it's like, this is hard.
Yeah, for sure.
This is hard.
For
You're going to
sure.
be solo. I was solo.
Yeah.
And then the stuff that I talked to people about, the intuition, we talked about sixth sense, we talked about, and then, you would tell people, and you would think that they'd be like, oh, okay, let's be empathetic to him. It's like, whoa, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
What vision did you have? What's gonna happen tomorrow? I don't want to hear that.
Right.
And it's like, I'm sorry. Like, what you want me to do? But that's what.
And I think that's what kept me in my hermit mode a lot is just because I've always known I was different, and even coming into these visions, having these dreams, aka like being able to see the future in a way, having all of this and really not knowing who to talk to, and also one thing I've always struggled with is with my voice and how to really articulate my truth for real, and like even in this moment, this is it's a challenge for me, but I'm excited to really conquer this because for too long I've been silencing myself, not asking for help, not being part of community. I feel like part of that is my nature, and it's not to not be with people. I'm just a very
you want to secure you want to secure your energy too.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I'm finding balance in what that is and really pushing myself past my fears of like talking on a podcast, and
so and I just want to thank you, thank your grandma too, because she inspired you, and shout out to her. I wanted to say that a minute ago, but bring it back, like shout out to her for giving you that voice, because I think voices and even those feelings, those intuitions, those things can be passed down, and those are ancestral gifts, ancestral things that. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. That's where I was going, but also just a lot of the things that I tapped into. It's like a system of remembering those ancient ways, and I think that's what I've just always relied on, even though there were certain spiritualists that I would follow. There were certain people I would listen to. I found myself being able to tap into ancient memories to really pick up practices like making spiritual baths, like, and that being a thing, and just understanding how a lot of these things come natural to me, it makes me just think about, past lives and whatnot, and like what was set in stone, like what makes up my blueprint, and that can be a rabbit hole in itself.
Oh, I mean, we could talk all these topic, all these stuff we're talking about. It
Oh,
could
yeah,
go for
it
hours and
could.
lifetimes, because that's it. That's part of life.
You know, and I haven't added any more Q&As because of the rabbit holes I be going down. I'm like, all right, Alice, you need to focus on something.
Well, okay. First, explain what that is. Q&As.
My Q&A. Okay, so an extension of the Jona Experience is transformational healing, ritual-based self-care, and correspondences. All of this they're basically downloads that I got from spirit, you know, when in different modalities. I want to say that transformational healing is centered around spiritual baths, but there's different modalities, philosophies, other research, direct downloads from spirit that brings this work together. So it's a conglomeration of a lot of different information, but for the most part, it's just how to work your magic when it comes to your healing. And the Q&A was created for me to give people insight on the work that I was doing. Because you read a title like that and like, what the hell is that? What is transformation? But it incorporates, again, that commitment to self-care, as well as the correspondences. And when I say correspondences, meaning everything that connect us to the world that we can use to really facilitate in our healing. Mm-hmm. So the Q&As were there just to kind of give that the insight, but eventually it will become a book.
Nice. Well, we're excited. We're excited about the book. Right before we jump into something about this book, there's another book I want to plug in is Conversations with God. Have you heard of that?
I feel like I have.
Such a dope book. So Conversations with God is so, for me, is where I got most of the answers. When you go into this rabbit hole or you go into this, you know, trying to overstand things, Conversations with God for real was the book that I said, oh, I get it now. Not I've read The Power. I read The Secret. I read all of those, right? And they had understandings and they had things that I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it already, you know? But it was like the deeper ones, Conversations with God. And one of the things that it talks about in there was about remembering. So separating, you remember, right? You remember past lives, you remember past things, you remember ancestral things, you remember your spirit telling you, hey, focus on this, do this, do that. You know, your spirit talking to you, but you remember the fact that you remember. So you put those members into different pieces to combine who you are. So that was very powerful.
I'm going to need that book.
Okay. And so with this book, you know, some people have seen it. It's called Mana Moment Motivationals. So it's pretty dope. Check it out. You can go to manamoment.com. And there was one that we have chosen for today. It was going to be about manifesting.
Manifesting. I love it.
Yeah. Manifesting your dreams. Write down the life you envision having. And then it says, seek what you are searching for, and it will find you halfway there. Yeah. Check it out. So it's pretty dope. It's just something I got in the book because I want people to be interactive with the book, right? So I want people to partake in it and be a part of the book as well. So manifest your dreams. Write down the life you envision having. So we'll have maybe about 2 minutes.
Okay.
We'll still talk, right? Obviously.
Okay.
So here's your pen. You write down what you have in mind, and I'll ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
Can you multitask?
I'm gonna try.
We're gonna try. Okay. Yeah. So I really like the fact that we both talk about experience and moment, and understanding that perspectives are completely different, right? That we can have the same idea in our own perspective. Yeah. Because there's so many realities, so many things going on in life. You know, you can always one of the examples I always give Yesenia is chocolate. I don't like chocolate. She likes chocolate. She loves chocolate. Yeah, you can like that, and I don't have to like it, but that doesn't change either bad or good. And that doesn't change, you know, if there should be arguments or disputes. It's a different perspective, different life, different experience, different moments. But in that moment, how do we react to that experience or that moment?
Are you talking about the differences?
No, I mean that's another rabbit hole. It's just a thought. It's just something that I wanted to put out there. That the
Okay,
fact
yeah.
that you know we have different. You have your thing. I have
Yeah.
my thing, but it's the same perspective or the same thought
Mhm.
in different perspectives. But that's
Yeah.
what makes you you, and
Indeed.
that's what makes me me.
Yeah, so okay, I can't multitask, just to put that out there.
Yeah, that's why I was like, let me just talk. So then then by the time you get done, I'll write. So we're good.
But I had to learn a hard lesson with that, I had to learn a hard lesson with perspective and just understanding people have their own perception, and that in itself shows you the uniqueness of the reality that they create. It's not going to look like yours because we are all different, and just like being in situations and interactions where things are expected of people, not knowing that their whole worldview, their whole mind is something completely different than yours, and I feel like my lesson in that, like, I just came to like, out of all of that, I just came to a space in my life just recently where I'm like, okay, I could see where I was wrong, because it's not just about me and where I was coming from and my understanding of these things. I had to come outside of myself, and I had a premonition about this. Spirit really led me to go through these trials and tribulations so that I can see the bigger picture of it all and learning. And one of the lessons I learned was that,
It
yeah,
was nice.
yeah,
It's interesting lessons, right? All these
mm-hmm.
lessons that lead to where we're at, and
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we talk about timing, we talk about healing. It's all a process.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a journey,
Mm-hmm.
And so, what did your journey bring you?
Well, are you asking me to answer the question, or?
Yeah, what did the
Okay.
journey bring you to
To
manifest?
manifest, I see me having an apothecary and being a source for, in a safe space for healing. Um, Being able to supply the community with the tools that are necessary to go about, like, their healing journey, either through protection, either through spiritual baths, working with plants, working with the herbs, having that available. Because I honestly see that's the paradigm we're moving into, but that's a whole nother conversation. But being a source for that and creating safe spaces for where people feel comfortable expressing themselves in that way and understanding the other side, not just the material world, but the spiritual world as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's well put.
Yeah.
That's well put. All right, so I'm just gonna share mine, and then we can go ahead and close off. But I was talking about growth and living life continuously. I think that one of the things that happened with Mana is that, not that I gave up on it, or not that I stopped doing it, because you live your life regardless. But I think that I didn't put the energy. I so safeguarded my energy so much these past few years because of either the fear of what people would think, and not necessarily my fear, but seeing people's fears come up because of what I would say, or my premonitions, or my way of creating mana. And so I took a break. I was like, not me, but I took a break putting it out there, what mana was. And then eventually the books came out, and I said, okay, I got to live in this truth again, in the way that I was living it back then, but with the understanding of what it is and how it truly connects to nature, nurture, and life, and people, connections. So it's working to not work so hard and live life as mana full as possible. So thank you for coming. Appreciate this Mana Feast episode. Thank you so much for the mantra at the beginning. That was so beautiful.
Thank you.
And then go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead, plug up your social media.
I am on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, the Jona Experience. Jona is spelled Jona. Experience. Instagram is the _ Jona Experience. And there you can find just everything: the experience, the creations, the spiritual bath, the body butters, the me, and just more about transformational healing will be on there. I believe the link is up in my bio. So yeah, give it a look at. Go ahead and check it out.
Nice, nice, nice. You can check us out at manamoment.com or on Instagram, mana_moment. And then shout out to the coolest lanes for helping us out and setting this up. Check them
Hey.
out on IG as well. Peace.